One, two, three, go. Here we are live. What's up, guys? Is my microphone working? Can you guys let me know in the chat if my microphone's working? Can you hear me? How do I see the chats? Live chat. Hey, so you guys can hear me all right? Let me know if you can hear me. Yes, you can see and hear me. Perfect. Okay, cool. Let's get started. Hi, thanks so much for coming. This is so much fun. Welcome to my first official live stream. I did a unofficial live stream a while ago just to kind of test my internet connection and microphone and stuff to make sure it worked. So thanks to those of you that showed up for that. Let's go ahead and get started. I've got something very important to take care of first. We need to give away some stuff. Who wants some free stuff? I have actually already picked the people, so if you want free stuff, I'm going to show you how these people earn their free stuff. So, Hotshot 927 a bowl, are you here? If you're here, show up in the chat. You are the first person to comment across all of my social media that you are going to be here at this live stream tonight, and so I just wanted to reward you with a pair of KZ AS10 earbuds. So, Hotshot 927 a bowl. Go ahead and message me on Facebook and give me your address, and I'll ship these off to you right away. Also have someone else to shout out, Michael Morgan. You showed up in the Facebook chat, and you and I had a very awesome discussion this morning about whether or not Christians should drink whiskey or not. And you were super respectful and super loving with your comments, and I just super appreciated that. And we just had a really good, healthy discussion, and I think we understand each other better. And while we probably didn't necessarily come to an agreement, that's just what this is all about, just getting to know each other better and having a good community. And I just think we have just a really cool community here with you guys here with my channel and stuff. So I just want to encourage those awesome conversations and everybody just being respectful and loving. So Michael Morgan, I'm going to send you some KZ ZS10s. So go ahead and shoot me your address on Facebook, and I'll get those out to you right away. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I didn't really know what to do for this first live stream. I just kind of wanted to really interact with you guys. But probably one of the most number one questions that gets asked here on my channel is, why do I like guns? Why guns? Okay, a lot of people understand guitars, but a lot of people don't understand guns. So I hope some of those people are here, the people who don't understand guns, so that they can ask me these questions. But I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about me and why I like guns. So let's rewind all the way back to 9-year-old Dan. 9-year-old Dan was the first time that I had any interaction with a firearm. Both my mom and dad have family back in the Midwest. And so we were out visiting some relatives in Kentucky and Ohio, and they decided they wanted to take me out shooting. And I had never handled a firearm before in my life, and so I thought that would be I thought it'd be fun. So we went out behind their house, and they lived, on a big property on a farm. And there's a little wash area and a little ravine, and a nice backdrop to shoot. So we shot some paper plates that we hung from a tree. And it was like the most fun thing I've ever done in my entire life. I just really loved it. And so then later on, we traveled to Kansas, where some of my mom's family have a farm. And my cousin there introduced me to a little bolt action 22 rifle. And we just went out, just kind of target shooting. And it was so much fun. So I really enjoyed it. I went home. I begged my parents for a BB gun. We lived in California. In California, you can't really own firearms easily. And even BB guns, you kind of have to be really careful. So ended up getting a BB gun eventually, I think around junior high. And so I was just kind of shooting cans and stuff in the backyard. And then in high school, I got really big into paintball. Went out and played paintball with a lot of my friends and stuff, and airsoft and things like that. So I've kind of always really been into target shooting as a sport. So I absolutely love shooting as a sport. It's actually one of the fastest growing sports in the United States. You actually be hard pressed to find any information on that because it's not a super well known fact. But target shooting it's an Olympic sport, and it is one of the fastest growing sports in the US. So it's super fun. That's what I love about it. I'm going to tell you about another story. When I was in college, when I was actually fresh out of college, I was making my living as a musician at the time. I was sharing a house with 4 or 5 other people. And I, was a musician, so I was working in the evenings. So you guys know, those of you who are musicians, that your workday kind of starts around like 5 p.m. and ends around like 2 a.m. And then, so I'd go home and, wind down, go to bed at 4 a.m., wake up at noon, that kind of a thing. All the rest of my roommates had regular 9-to-5 jobs, so I pretty much had the house to myself all day, every day. So anyway, one day I woke up, and it was like noon or 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. or something like that. And I went out, I decided to go out and get some breakfast at my favorite Mexican food place. Got some nice carne asada nachos because that was my breakfast because I woke up at lunchtime every day. So I went and grabbed some, and I went to go, and as I was coming back to my house, I walked in the front door, walked into the kitchen, and went to put my leftovers in the fridge. And when I shut the fridge, I noticed there was another person standing in the kitchen with me. Now, I typically have the house to myself all day, every day. So I was like, what the heck? And I probably wouldn't have thought anything of it. I did have 4 roommates, and so I probably would have thought that it was just one of his friends dropping by or whatever. But the first thing he says is, "Don't call the cops." And so that was obviously like an immediate red flag. I was like, okay, this guy's not supposed to be here. And I noticed that he had knocked the window out in our kitchen and climbed in. And I was like, oh, this is not good. And so I'm like, dude, you need to leave. You don't belong here. You're not allowed in my house. Please get out. And he's like, no, you don't understand. I'm running from the cops. I can't go outside. The cops are out there, which I had seen the cops out there, but I didn't know what they were out there for. They weren't outside my house. They were just kind of roaming the neighborhood, and I didn't really know what was going on. So, but then I put 2 and 2 together. I'm like, oh, they're looking for this guy. So I was like, no, you have to leave. And he's like, nah, man, I can't leave. And he starts advancing toward me. And this is not a good guy. He's very big. And he's definitely lived a rough life, and he starts advancing towards me, and I start to panic. I start to fear for my life. And then he kind of starts advancing towards me faster. And so just in a moment of panic, I yell, "Help!" kind of as loud as I can. And then all of a sudden I hear a door in my house open up. And I was like, and the guy who was, the stranger stopped advancing on me. And I was like, praise the Lord, someone else is home. So my roommate George was home for whatever reason that day. Hey, Brad, good to see you. Brad Ango's in the chat. Hey, good to see you, man. Anyway, so, and DIY Gene's here. Okay, cool. Good to see you, DIY Gene. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate you, man. So anyway, so this guy was advancing on me. I yell for help. Another door in my house opens. It was my roommate, George, comes out. And so the guy stops advancing on me, and I say, George, this guy broke into our house. And George was a really big, strong dude, and not scrawny like me. And he came out, and he's a construction worker, but for some reason had the day off or got home earlier or something. I didn't know that he was home. I didn't see his car out there. So luckily he was there, and I just quickly in a panic explained, this guy broke into our house. We have to get him out. And he's like, dude, you need to get out. And I could see in the stranger that broke into our house, I could see in his eyes, he was sizing up both of us, kind of like, maybe I could take both these guys, kind of a thing. And so he wasn't going anywhere. And then finally, my roommate George, pulls out a huge knife. And he says, you have to go right now. And so then the guy was like, okay, man, And he backs out of the house and climbs out the window and hops the fence. And we immediately call 911. And they were, like I said, the cops were already in the neighborhood. And we told them which, neighbor's fence he hopped. And they were able to run in and grab that guy and put him into custody. And then CSI came in and dusted our whole house for prints. They wanted proof that he was there and all that kind of stuff. And that was about the scariest moment of my life. And so 2 takeaways from that. Obviously, praise the Lord, George was home because he was a lot more convincing than I was. I didn't know what to do. I was doing what I learned in elementary school. I was trying to use my words to resolve an issue, and it just wasn't happening. The guy just wouldn't leave. And he was, if George hadn't have been there, I don't know that I necessarily would have been killed, but I would have, at the very least, been knocked out and tied up. And Guitar Max is here. Oh, hey, Guitar Max, thanks for showing up. Guitar Max is in the chat, you guys, so hit him up. Anyway, so yeah, if George hadn't have been there, I would have for sure at least been knocked out and tied up, and who knows how long that guy would have squatted in our house until the police were gone or whatever. So I think that if you guys haven't been in a situation where you've legitimately feared for your life, you probably can't understand why people would choose to use firearms or have firearms in their home for self-defense purposes. So that kind of changed a couple of things in me. One, I always have a knife on me 100% of the time, and my wife can attest to that. Even when I'm cruising around the house in pajamas, I always have a knife on me. And it's not just for self-defense, it's a really handy tool to have. But I bought her knives to carry too, and she refuses to carry them. She just always asks for mine whenever she needs one to open a package or whatever. But that's her choice. So I carry a knife on me all the time. It's a useful tool. And if I ever am in a predicament like that again, I just want to have, just something to know that there's a slim chance that I might not die or get knocked out or beat up, because I've got 0 combat training. I would do horrible in a fist fight, and I'm just not a very big guy overall. Anyway, so going back to what I was talking about before, I absolutely love target shooting as a sport, but that was the first time, after that situation, that was the first time that I ever considered maybe owning firearms for self-defense, because if I had had a gun that I could get to, that situation would have worked out a whole lot differently, and I wouldn't have had to rely on George to come and save me. So anyway, all that to say, that was kind of a turning point in my life, to where I started realizing that maybe firearms were okay to own for self-defense. Now, at the time I was living in California, and I was also making my living as a musician, and I could hardly afford my next set of bass strings, so the idea of saving up to buy a firearm was kind of beyond my reach. But fast forward to about 10 years ago, God called me out to Arizona for a job in ministry, and Arizona truly is land of the free, home of the brave. And I met some people, and they were firearms owners, and I talked to them and decided that I would, purchase my first real firearm, and just kind of started slowly building my collection from there. And I went I'll admit, I went kind of overboard at first. I went super Army Commando. I'm going to have all the home defense shotguns. I'm going to rig up booby traps. No one is coming into my house, taking my stuff. And then I just realized, I just don't think that that's right to live in fear like that. And so, for those of you guys who don't know, I am an adamant Christian. I love Jesus, and I want to honor him with my life. And so I was really convicted, just about having, just thinking through, would Jesus own a gun? And so, while I had all these guns and I was like, yeah, come at me, bro. God started doing some serious work on my heart. And so I went from carrying a gun, on my person, in secret. My wife actually didn't even know that I was doing that for probably about, 6 to 8 months. I was carrying a gun every day, just to be ready for whatever, I was living in this fear, and I didn't think it was really healthy. And so the Lord really started working on my heart. And so I started really kind of searching the scriptures for what it would say on the matter. And there's obviously not a whole lot about guns because they weren't invented back then. And if you just look at like war in general in the Bible, it's really weird, especially in the Old Testament. There's lots of like mass genocide and stuff that I'm not really sure how to reconcile. But just looking at, again, my original question, would Jesus carry a gun? I just, started reading the teachings of Jesus. So I kind of looked at kind of two main points. Okay, so after Jesus just had the Last Supper with his disciples, and he's, walking, getting ready to walk to the Mount of Olives to say his prayers. He knows that he's about to be apprehended and crucified. He says to his disciples, hey, get your swords. And if you don't have swords, sell your tunics and get a sword. It's that important that you guys have swords right now. So that's my Dan Thompson translation, my paraphrase. So he says that. So, and the disciples are like, hey, we got a couple of swords. And Jesus is like, perfect, you're good. So that to me says, Jesus knowing the situation that he's going into, knowing that, these people are going to be persecuted, people are going to be coming after them. He wants the disciples to be able to defend themselves, right? He wants them to be prepared and ready. Then, literally, hours later, Jesus is apprehended. Peter's there with him. Peter says, oh, heck no. And he takes a sword and he swings it and tries to get one of the Roman soldiers. The Roman soldier was obviously trained in combat. Peter obviously wasn't. So he goes to dodge it. And instead of losing his head, he just loses an ear, right? And so what does Jesus do? Does he say, good shot, Peter, run? No, Jesus says, what are you doing? Look, he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. Put your sword away. And then he, you guys know the rest of the story. He picks up the ear, he heals the soldier. And so here we've got two very different teachings of Jesus. You have him saying, hey, if you don't have a sword, get one. Sell something important to you, like your tunic, your coat, your jacket. Sell that so you can have a sword. It's that important. And then in the very next scene, he's saying, hey, don't use it to defend yourself. What are you thinking? How do you reconcile that? It's all kind of a gray area, And so what I'm trying to say is, and I think the work that the Lord's been doing on my heart on the matter is, I know that I am secure in my eternity. I know I am secure in my salvation. I love Jesus. I follow him the best of my abilities, and I know that I have a good relationship with him. So I know that I can have 100% certainty that if I were to die, it would actually be a good thing because it means I would be going home to my Father in heaven, right? So if I were in a self-defense situation, it's me versus the other guy threatening me, would I be willing to take his life if it was his life or my life? And the conclusion that I came to is no, because I am not secure in his salvation. I'm secure in my salvation. I'm not secure in his salvation, okay? In fact, if he were to die at that moment, I'd probably be securing his eternity in a bad place. And so if me dying means that he has an opportunity to encounter Jesus later in life and receive salvation, that to me is worth my life. So for personal self-defense, that's where I've come to. Now, here's where the situation gets a little bit sticky, okay? Let's say, another bad guy enters my home, and now I'm married and I have kids. And this guy enters and he intends to do my family harm. Well, I'm not as secure in my family's salvation as I am in my own. I mean, they can tell me, my wife can tell me till she's blue in the face that she loves Jesus, that she has a good relationship with him, and then when she dies, she is going to meet him. And I just have to take her word for it. But because I'm not her, I don't have that 100% certainty that I have for my own personal salvation. And so if someone were to break into my home and intend to do my family harm, and I have to choose between their salvation or my family's salvation, well, in that case, I would think that they made that decision when they chose to enter my home and chose to put my family in harm's way. So in that instance, I feel like using firearms for self-defense is okay. So I do have firearms for self-defense. I don't carry them personally on me anymore the way I used to, because I just don't want to be living in that fear. I don't want to constantly be paranoid that somebody is going to come at me. I've got a knife just in case it does happen, but I do have firearms in my home for self-defense. I do have friends in law enforcement, and they know of some really bad people in the area, and they say that I should be defending my home or be ready to defend my family. And so if my friends who are also followers of Christ and work in law enforcement in our local area, and they know that there are bad people here and they are encouraging me to own firearms to defend my family, then I think that that is a really credible source. So anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know where I stood on that. I own firearms not 100% for self-defense. I have a couple that are dedicated to that specific job, but the majority of my firearms are purely recreational. I consider myself a purely recreational shooter. I'm not in law enforcement. I'm not in the military. I'm not an Army commando. And I don't feel like it's my duty to protect everyone in the whole world. That's not what God called me to. So I have my firearms for recreation, and then just like any other loving man of the household, when my family's in harm's way, I'm going to do everything that I can to protect them. So anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know just kind of where I'm coming at from that. I consider myself a recreational target shooter first, and I hope that I never have to use firearms for self-defense. So that's where I'm at. I would love to take your guys' questions now. In fact, the ice is melting in my whiskey. I got this out, and I haven't even had a chance to sip on it yet because I've just been talking the whole time.
Brad wants to know what's in the what whiskey you're drinking.
Brad wants to know what whiskey I'm drinking. This is a good question because my philosophy for whiskey is the exact same for guitar gear. Okay, this is Kirkland, the Costco brand blended Scotch whiskey, and it is like the cheapest whiskey that you can get. And I get it because it tastes all right, and obviously I would prefer like a nice like single malt Scotch. But am I willing to pay 3 times the price for something that's 10% better? No. Okay, so I'm all about the best value. So Costco blended whiskey. All right, who else has any questions about why I like guns or let's see.
Person wants to know what brand of knives you like.
Who said that? Sorry. My wife is moderating the comments. She's helping me see the ones that I miss. Luke Croson wants to know what brand of knives I like. I have lots of knives, and I'd have to say my favorite, based just on the brand that I own the most of, has to be Spyderco. I have more Spyderco knives than any other brand, but my top knife brands, I really like Spyderco, Benchmade. My favorite knife in my collection is actually a Kershaw. And then I have a few cold steel knives as well. So there you go.
Yosemite Sam says, I'm purely a recreational shooter. Have you been getting grief from viewers?
So Yosemite Sam says, I am purely a recreational shooter. Have I been getting grief from other viewers? You got to have thick skin to be a YouTuber. So yes, I do get tons of flack, especially about the guns thing. I get lots of people because I'm very open about my Christianity. So whenever people watch a video and I mention about playing at church or something like that, and they know my channel's Guns and Cars, they go, "Oh, you're a church guy. You're a Trump supporter. You're a firearm owner. You're going to go shoot up all the churches and all the schools." And I'm like, that sentence doesn't even make sense. Why are you commenting that? So yes, I do get a lot of flack from people who don't appreciate firearms.
Brad Ango wants to know handguns or long rifles.
Brad wants to know if I have handguns or long rifles, and I have probably an equal amount of both. My favorite firearms are shotguns. I absolutely love shotguns. So I have 3 or 4 different shotguns, and they're so much fun because you can just blast stuff out of the sky. It's really cool.
Riley Tech wants to know, has YouTube ever demonetized one of your gun videos?
So, did you say Riley?
Tech.
Riley Tech wants to know if YouTube has ever demonetized one of my gun videos. I've had a gun video actually removed and a community guideline strike on my channel as a result of a firearm video. It was a video that I built, or that I did, how to build your dream AR-15 for less than $400, I think was the title. And it was actually... in 2 months, it had gotten 800,000 views. It was going to be my first 1 million views. It got really popular, got a really good response from people. And YouTube took it down for seemingly no reason and gave me a community guideline strike. And I appealed it and was denied. And they didn't tell me why they took it down. And then later on, about a month later, YouTube changed their policy to no longer allow the promotion of sale of firearms or to show firearm manufacturing. And so... I have a feeling that's what it was. I think YouTube saw the popularity of that video and they wanted to stop it. So they ended up taking that video down. They gave me a strike, and then they changed their policy, and then my video no longer fit with the new policy. So if you guys want to see that video, it's on my Patreon page. So all my Patreon supporters, just $1 a month, and you get access to any video that YouTube's taking down. So there's a couple. One is how I source the parts for the AR-15. The other one is physically how I put the pieces together. So check those out if you're interested.
DIY Gene wants to know if you've ever thought of doing a DIY knife kit.
DIY Gene wants to know if I've ever thought about doing DIY knife kit. I've done DIY knife kits. I would absolutely love to do videos on that, but my channel, unfortunately, is not guns and knives and guitars. It's just guns and guitars. So I've done some knife kits. I've dabbled in knife making, knife building a little bit, and I actually have a set of kitchen knife blanks that are waiting for some fresh handle scales to be made for them that I'm very excited about. One of them, I was too excited to wait until I actually made some handle scales, and I just wrapped the handle in paracord, and it's my favorite kitchen knife right now. But yeah.
Jorge Rodriguez wants to know what made you get that cool tattoo.
Jorge Rodriguez wants to know what made me get this cool tattoo. Okay, so this tattoo says, "Blessed are the peacemakers." It is from Matthew chapter 5. It's one of the Beatitudes. And so you'll notice right here, this is a Colt single action army, which was dubbed the Peacemaker because of its use by Old West lawmen like Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, all those people. The Colt Single Action Army was the #1 choice for law enforcement of the Wild West. So what this tattoo means to me, okay, a lot of people look at this and say, blessed are the peacemakers. Yeah, blessed are the guys with the bigger guns, peace through superior firepower, whatever. That's not it at all. So when I think of the Colt Single Action Army, I think of those Old West lawmen and their uncompromising morals and virtue, and just really, truly living and breathing what they believe. So that to me is what that scripture is saying. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are those who are noble and virtuous and who try to keep peace at all costs. And so that's the reason for the tattoo. That's what it means to me.
Andrew Powder wants to know, do you own a peacemaker like your tattoo?
Andrew Powder wants to know if I own a peacemaker. No, I do not own a peacemaker, unfortunately. I have a Ruger Single 6. It's a lot like a peacemaker, but it's in .22 long rifle. No, actually, so back to my story. If you were here at the beginning of the live chat, I was talking about my first experience shooting firearms. One of the first guns I shot was a Colt Single Action Army. And my uncle is a firearms collector, and he has some really, really nice, really vintage Colt Single Action Army. Some of them are so valuable that he keeps them in a safety deposit box in a bank. He doesn't actually even keep them in his house. So, they're my favorite gun of all time. But if you guys know, I'm very much a best value when it comes to my gear, guns and guitars. And so a Colt Single Action Army is a very expensive gun. So that's why I don't own one. I probably will own a clone of one at some point. They're super fun firearms. They're fantastic. Colt was just beyond his years when he designed those things. All right. My wife's looking through the comments trying to find a good question for me.
Lucas Fowler wants to know, are you a Glock guy?
Lucas Fowler is here. Hey, good to see you, Lucas. My wife just said that you asked if I'm a Glock guy. I am not a Glock guy, actually. I like Glocks. I enjoy shooting them. I don't have any personally because I'm not a super huge fan of striker fired guns. I'm more of a single action firearm person. So the 1911 is kind of my platform of choice. I do have a couple of striker fireds. The Canik TP9 SFX, if you guys saw my video review of that, that's technically a striker fired, but that action feels, that trigger feels a lot more like a single action trigger because it's a match grade, like 3.5 pound trigger or something like that. So really clean and crisp. So, but yeah, Glock guy, I don't own any. I'm not opposed to them. I like them. They're just not my favorite.
Jay Vessel wants to know, what are your most practical / preferred home defense guns?
Sorry, what was his name again?
Jay Vessel.
Jay Vessel wants to know what I believe are the most practical home defense guns. The answer to that question is it's the gun that you're going to be the most proficient with that you can get to the fastest. So, for example, when my wife and I were first married, before we had kids, my home defense gun of choice was a 12 gauge shotgun that I kept next to the bed. And that's because I could get to it really quickly, and I was super proficient with 12 gauge. And 12 gauge is that's a great caliber to have in a panic because you don't have to be a surgeon with it. You just kind of have to point in the general direction to take care of your target. So I feel like that's the number one home defense weapon, especially since that is better than firing a warning shot. There's not a person on earth that doesn't know what that sound means. And if the person that entered your house hears that sound and does anything but run for their life, you know you're in for a firefight. But now that being said, while I would love to use a shotgun for home defense, it's not practical anymore because I have kids that are 4 and 6 years old, and I just can't have firearms where they can get to them. And so there's just no way that I can have a 12 gauge sitting next to my bed anymore. I have to keep it locked up in a safe. And so in a long gun, a tall long gun safe. So in a hurry, I would not be able to get to that fast. I would not be able to run over to my safe and, twist in the combination, pull it out, grab it, rack it, and that would take at least a couple of minutes. So I do now have a pistol bedside safe. That's a quick access safe. You just punch in a combination really quick and the door springs open and I grab my handgun that's loaded with one in the chamber and I'm in business. So I hope that answers your question.
Green wants to know, in your opinion, what caliber do you consider most effective for defense? I'm personally a 45 ACP man because I like big booms.
So, sorry, what was his name?
Brandon Dufresne.
Brandon Dufresne wants to know what I feel like the best caliber is for self-defense. He's personally a 45 ACP guy, that's a fantastic caliber, and I would like to actually own more guns. I actually don't own any guns in 45. I want to own more, or I want to own one first, and then that's a caliber that I really want to get into. My home defense gun is a 9mm, and so that goes back to my two conditions for self-defense is 1, the one you're going to be the most proficient with, and 2, the one that you can get to the fastest. So going back to reason number 1, 9mm I am the most proficient with because it's the cheapest. I can afford the most practice with it. And if you ask anyone who works in law enforcement, with all the training and stuff that they go through, what kind of the research that they found is that the caliber actually really doesn't matter a whole lot. It's really shot placement that matters. The most deadly round in the world is .22 long rifle, and that's because nobody respects it. Everybody thinks of it as like a BB gun or an air gun. And so that's the most deadly because the most firearm injuries and deaths are caused by .22 long rifle because people don't respect it. Well, a well-placed round with a well-placed shot with a 22 long rifle is just as deadly as a well-placed shot with a AR-15, you know. So I'm probably going to get a lot of disagreement with that argument, but that's the statistics and stuff that I've heard, again, talking with my buddies in law enforcement and going through my concealed carry training classes and things like that. So again, I really feel like the caliber that's the most effective for self-defense is the one that you are the most proficient with. That's the one that you have the most trigger time on, that you are going to be able to keep your cool. You've got your muscle memory, and when the time comes and you absolutely need it, you're going to be able to put a shot where you need to. So whether that's 12 gauge, 223, 45, 9 millimeter, 22 long rifle, 22 short, you know, whatever, that's the caliber that you want.
A lot of people are asking if you're ever going to go back to the idea of a functional gun and guitar.
So lots of people are asking if I'm ever going to build the gun-tar, a functional gun guitar. Man, I sure want to do that. I really do. It was really high on my list until YouTube changed their policies on firearms, and I really think that would actually fall into the category of manufacturing a firearm. So I'm really nervous to do it, especially since I've already had a community guideline strike. I don't want to get any more of those. I want to keep my account in good standing, especially since this is now my full-time job. But don't think of that as a cop-out. I still will do it someday, and when I do it, I will at least post it on Facebook and Patreon and any other place that will allow me. And I will tread lightly in how I post it on YouTube. But yes, I would like to do it. I would love to make a shotgun bass, actually. So, because I'm a bass player and I love shotguns. So that's my dream.
A lot of people want to know if you love hunting.
A lot of people want to know if I love hunting. I have been hunting one time in my life, and it was dove hunting. And I got to be honest with you guys, it was a lot of fun, but the juice was not worth the squeeze on that. I went out with some buddies and had a really good day. I caught my limit. I bagged 12 doves. So that's the daily limit. And here in Arizona during dove season's only 1 week long, and you can only get 12 doves a day, and you can only get hunt a maximum of 3 days. So, we only went out for 1 day, and I bagged 12 of them before noon, I think. And so I came home, and then I prepped them and cleaned them and fed them to my family. And boy, 12 doves sure is not a lot of food. My wife can testify to that. We wrapped them in bacon and served them with all kinds of, we tried to make it as much sustenance as possible. And I was like, wow, that was a lot of work for not a lot of food. So I just decided that I'll probably just go to the grocery store to buy dinner from here on out. As much as it was super fun getting out with the guys, we had the campfire the night before, we camped out. And then, of course, the sport of it was fun, but I don't believe in harming animals for sport. So I would only be into hunting if I was going to take home a meal to my family. And with doves, that wasn't really the case. Now, I'd be interested to try, deer or elk or one of those things that would actually stock my freezer for the winter, which would be awesome. My wife's not super keen on the idea, which is one of the reasons why I haven't done it. The other thing is I have no idea what I'm doing, so I would need some friends to kind of help guide me along with that. I'm just not a person to get on my camos and march out into the wilderness and smell deer poop and put deer pee on my boots so that I can attract them. I don't know what I'm doing. I would just look like a fool out there. So
Ben Cope says you can have one firearm of your personal collection for the rest of your life. What do you choose?
Who said that? I'm sorry.
Ben Cope.
Ben Cope asked if I could only have one firearm for the rest of my life. From my personal collection.
For the rest of your life. What do you choose?
Yeah, hands down, it would be my Mossberg 500, and it's a 3-in-1. It's got 2 barrels and a shoulder stock and a pistol grip stock. So basically what that means is I can configure it 3 different ways. I have a 28-inch field barrel with replaceable chokes, so I can adjust if I want a nice tight group or a wide pattern for various hunting applications. And then it's also got a shorter 18-inch home defense barrel that's a smooth bore for, buckshot, slugs, that kind of stuff. And so And then also the shoulder stock can be replaced with a pistol grip, so it makes it a smaller home defense package. And that was my first home defense gun. When I said that I had a shotgun next to my bed, it was that gun, and I kept it in that configuration. It had a pistol grip. Christian Estrada's here. Hey, he's my buddy. Good to see you, man. So that was my home defense gun. And it was a nice small package. And I told you guys that shotguns are they're the most versatile, especially that one. A Mossberg 500. I can't recommend enough. It really is my favorite firearm of all time because of how versatile it is and how reliable it is. I'm not sure I've ever actually cleaned it even one time since I've owned it. I've got thousands of rounds down it. So
DIY Gene has a good question. Have you ever had second thoughts on having a channel that covers 2 different subjects?
Yeah, so DIY Gene, you've got a great question. Have I ever had second thoughts about having a channel that covers 2 different subjects? Absolutely, yes, I have. In fact, at the beginning of the year, I was dead set that I was going to separate the channels because you guys know my gun videos don't perform as well as my guitar videos. So what was happening is, if you guys don't know how the YouTube algorithm works, when you upload a video, it shows it to your notification squad, right? The people that click the bell notification, at least it's supposed to. It doesn't always work, but it's supposed to go to your notification squad. And then kind of based on the viewer signals that those people give it, so whether they saw it, they decided it was a video that they wanted to watch, they click it, how long they watch it before they abandon it for another video, or if they abandon the platform entirely. All those things are data points that Google collects to decide if they want to push that video out to more people on the homepage, suggested videos, all the browse features, that kind of stuff. And so what happens, because the vast majority of, I know Hotshot 927able, you're definitely notification squad. If you didn't catch the beginning of this live stream, I actually have a present for you. So hit me up on Facebook and give me your address. I'm going to be shipping you a set of headphones. Yes. So if I upload a firearms video and 90% of my audience is here for the guitar content, it goes to my notification squad. 90% of the people don't click and watch that video. That tells Google this is not a good performing video. So Google then doesn't push it out in the suggested videos and all that kind of stuff. So I really thought that because I had focused so much on the guitar side of it, mainly just because it's easier to do guitar content, just due to the nature and red tape surrounding firearms. It's easier to get my hands on guitar gear, way easier than firearms gear. And because I did that, I feel like, I've kind of shot myself in the foot for firearms related content. But what changed my mind actually was I took a class with a guy named Tim Schmoyer, who is a YouTube certified expert. And the first thing that I asked him was like, hey, should I split my channels into 2, And he said, no, absolutely not, especially with all the branding and stuff that I've already done. But also he just said that it was my value proposition that needed work. And so that was when I started asking you guys. I reached out to you guys on my community tab and across my social media. Why do you guys watch my channels? Why don't you watch my firearms video? That kind of stuff. So we nailed down that mantra, spend less, play more, because that's kind of been a running theme in my channel, trying to find the, high-end gear on a low-end budget, that kind of stuff. And I really feel like that's my strength. And that's how I live my life. I don't do this just to get views on YouTube. I truly believe in the products that I show you guys. And I truly believe in the do-it-yourself tricks and stuff that I come up with and I show you guys. That's how I live my life. And it makes sense that, firearms and music are my 2 favorite things. And so those are the things that I'm constantly looking for the best products. And I'm constantly trying to figure out new DIY hacks to, just get the most, for your buck. And so it makes sense for me, because of who I am, to keep the channel together. So while, yes, I do sort of regret from the beginning going with 2 completely different categories, I think the thing that holds them together is me. And so I hope, you guys showed up and you're wanting, to be a part of this live chat. You're wanting to get to know me better. And that's what I want this channel to be about. I want it to be about this awesome community that we have together, and not so much about guns versus guitars,
Eric wants to know, should I crack a second cold one?
Good question. I had intended for this. So sorry, Eric asked if he should crack a second cold one. It looks like it's 8:45. I intended this live stream to only go 30 minutes. So we are way over, and I do want to spend some time with my wife tonight. So don't crack another cold one unless you just want to enjoy it when we're done here. I'm gonna go ahead and take 3 more questions. So babe, go ahead and pick out 3 more questions for me, and then we'll call it a night.
Let's see. Ooh, Dan Van Engelhoven.
Dan Van Engelhoven
What project
says,
has made your wife shake her head the most?
"What project has made my wife shake her head the most?" Do you want to answer that one, babe? No? Okay, let's see. The one that has made her shake her head the most. She shakes her head with every project that I do. Which one was the guitar that you weren't sure how it was going to come out, and then once you saw it, you're like, oh, that actually turned out good. Do you remember which one that was? Yeah, I told you what I was going to do, and you're like, no way is that going to look good.
I don't remember.
You don't remember. I don't remember either.
Probably mostly your gun videos.
Yeah, she shakes her head a lot at my gun videos. My wife doesn't have anything against firearms, but she doesn't quite share the same enthusiasm that I do. She goes shooting with me from time to time because she loves me, but I've tried to get her to be more into it, and it's just not her thing, so I stopped trying.
All right, Yosemite Sam wants to know, do you shoot skeet, trap, hunter's clays, 5-stand, 3-gun?
Sorry, who said that?
Yosemite Sam.
Yosemite Sam wants to know what kind of clays I shoot. Skeet, trap,
Hunter's clays. 5-stand, 3-gun.
high stand, 3-gun.
5-stand.
5-stand, sorry. So I shoot the kind that you throw with your hand thrower. We actually have a sportsman club nearby, and I want to go and do like a full round of trap, skeet, sporting clays, whatever you call it. I think it'd be super fun. I've just never done it. When I was training for my dove hunt, I had people standing at various angles and to practice hitting them, because I know that's kind of the main difference is just kind of the angle in which they're thrown. But to answer your question, I have like little hand throwers that I use to throw the clays, and then I also have like a little like unit that throws them as well. So I hope that answers your question. It's so ghetto. I'm sorry. It's a terrible answer for a really good question.
I'm just laughing because I'm getting a lot of, what's it like living with the YouTube's best editor?
What's it like living with YouTube's best editor?
Don't answer that.
So you're talking about my wife. My wife is amazing. You guys don't even realize the crap that she puts up with and what she has to go through to edit one of my videos, because I literally will say the same thing 75 times, because you guys probably noticed I'm not as eloquent with words when you're talking to me live as I am on video, because I can say it as many times as I want, and then I just choose the one that's right and stick it in there. So she has to deal with me saying that 700 times. But yeah, it's awesome. She's awesome. And she's really hot. Okay, one more question.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
By the way, my wife did get me this awesome whiskey glass for Christmas. And a lot of you guys commented on my photo that you were wondering where I got it. I did put an affiliate link in the description. That wasn't the point of this live stream. I'm not trying to sell you a whiskey glass, but there's a .308 caliber bullet legitimately lodged in this glass. It's freaking cool. So
let's see.
my wife's trying to find a really good question for the last one.
Big Izzy 84.
Big Izzy 84. What's your question?
How about spend less, shoot more budget firearm stuff?
How about spend less, shoot more budget firearm stuff? Yes, absolutely. You're in luck, because this week's video is a budget DIY firearm related video, so be watching for that. Yes, I want to do more. Ideally, I would like to put out a firearm video and a gun video every week. Right now, it's just not really possible. I do this because my family is my priority, and so I want to make sure that I'm spending time with my family. You know, my kids, I mentioned earlier, are 4 and 6 years old. I don't get these years back with them, so I try to prioritize. You know, when they're home from school, I'm helping them with their homework. I'm interacting with them. I'm loving them. I'm not trying to work overtime just to get more content out. But I will be sprinkling in more firearms content here in the future, so definitely be on the lookout for it.
Brad Engove, really quick, wants to know.
Oh, sorry. Brad Engove, really quick, wants to know one more question.
And I was serious about us burning your favorite Bible verse into the top of a guitar.
Brad
If you'll ever do that.
wants to know if I will burn my favorite Bible verse into
the top of a guitar.
the top of a guitar. Yeah, heck yeah! Why not? I would love to. Let's do it. Let's do it right now. What guitars do I have that I can? How about this one? Should we do it in this one? Just kidding. So I'm not actually gonna do it right now. But Brad, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, definitely. Bit of insider information. I don't know, Brad, if you want me to share this or not, but I'm going to.
He's gonna burn it in for you.
Oh, Brad's going to burn it in for me. Oh, cool. Bit of insider information for those of you who are still here in the chat. Brad Engove and I have been working on a collaboration project. And by working on a collaboration project, I mean it's been sitting in my workshop for almost a year. So I just need to get off my butt and finish it. So, sorry, Brad. I'm actually going to work on it this week, I promise. And now that I've said that on a live stream and it's going to be forever burnt into a replay on YouTube, I actually have to do it. So I'll be working on that this week. Lucas Fowler is in the chat. I'm working on a collab with him as well this week. So if you guys don't know Brad Engove or Lucas Fowler, check out their channels. Hey, Lucas is there. Okay, cool. So yeah, sorry, Lucas and Brad. It's all me. It's not you. It's me. So I apologize. All right, I have to call it a night. We've gone nearly an hour. I meant to only go 30 minutes, but I'm going to be doing more of these. So at least once a month, maybe twice a month. We'll see. Hopefully 8 p.m. on Mondays works for you guys. That's about the only time that works for me. So let's do this again. It was so good seeing you guys. Talk to you later. Bye. I love you.